Welcome back, everybody, to another video. My name is Ty. Thanks for clicking on this one. I wanted to talk about albums that are turning 30 years old this year. So either they have already turned 30 or they are going to turn 30 sometime this year. Absolutely hard to believe, but there was a lot of stellar releases in 1996, and I've got a nice little stack here that I want to talk about, some of which are mostly metal, but we got some rock and metal adjacent stuff from the 90s as well. So yeah, these albums are super important to me. They're celebrating their anniversary this year. So I thought, let's reminisce a little bit. Let's talk about some kick-ass albums from 1996. So let's get right into it with the first one, essential Swedish Melodeath, In Flames with the Gesture Race. Absolutely stellar album. This album's been talked about to death. I can't really say anything that hasn't already been said. Essential for me and my listening and getting me into more extreme music. The first album with Anders on vocals, who is still in the band to this day. Also their second studio release. Absolutely stellar album. I love Jesper Stormblad's playing on here. His guitar tones, some of my favorite guitar tones ever recorded. Bjorn is on drums on this album, not on guitars, so he would later switch to guitars. But what a stellar lineup and a stellar band. Great album cover as well. You get the Moon Shield on here, which is a great song. The Jester's Dance, awesome instrumental. Artifacts of the Black Rain, classic. Graveland, Lord Hypnos. All of this is just essential. The Gesture Race title track, Dead God and Me, might be my favorite. Maybe a great closer. This is a great bookend album, actually, with Moonshield and Dead God and Me. I was on Heavy Metallurgy, and we just did bookended albums. So this one is definitely one that you could put in there. An absolutely stellar album and stellar release from the Swedish Melodeath stalwart, In Flames. Really essential for my listening and my kind of growing into more extreme music as well. Next up, let's go with the band's sixth studio album. Let's go to Norway. Let's go with Total Death from Darkthrone. It's their sixth studio album, like I said, released in January of 1996. Kind of a weird album because Fenriz didn't write the lyrics for this album. It was mostly handled by other black metal artists or Nocturno Culto. So kind of a standout in the discography because of that reason, but it's very good, black metal Darkthrone. They hadn't started really experimenting with the sound yet. And I think there's a strong contingent of Darkthrone fans that would just take this over some of the more recent stuff that they do. And I know they have a lot of fans still, and they're one of those cult bands that everybody loves still. They're not really a cult band. They're a major band at this point. Everybody knows who Darkthrone is. If you're into any type of metal, you know who Darkthrone is. But yeah, this is just classic, good, straight up black metal. Is it as good as, the trilogy? I don't think so. But it is still very solid. Very solid. This reissue has a different cover, which I don't know. I don't dislike it. I think the original cover is really cool with the moon and stuff. And I don't know. I dig the vibes of it and the black and the blues more than just this, classic black and white photo. But yeah, it's a solid album. Is it one of their best? Probably not. Is it worth celebrating? Yeah, for sure. And I think, like I said, I think there's a strong contingent of fans that would prefer them to go back to this. Again, Blaze in the Northern Sky, Transylvanian Hunger, Under a Funeral Moon. Those are the albums. But Total Death, I think, is kind of overlooked in the discography. Moving on. Kind of a return to form for a lot of people. I really dig this album. I like Master of the Rings a little bit more, but German power metal titans Helloween dropped their seventh studio album in 1996. Time of the Oath. You get We Burn on here opening, absolutely scorcher of a track. You get Power, which is a great, great song. Forever in One Neverland, an absolutely stellar ballad from them. The Time of the Oath, one of the best closers they've ever done. This is also a very good bookended album with We Burn and Time of the Oath. And again, they're coming off a weird period with Chameleon and kind of the end of that classic lineup with Michael Kiske leaving. They released Master of the Rings in 94, which I absolutely adore. I think that record starts stellar, like 5 absolutely stellar tracks to start Master of the Rings. Time of the Oath, I think, is just one step below. I did my Halloween ranking, and you can hear more about that if you watch that ranking. But this is still an absolutely stellar release. And I think a lot of people would put this above Master of the Rings, but yeah, I think they're very good complementary albums. And then we would get Better Than Raw in, I believe, 98. So yeah, Time of the Oath, absolutely essential Halloween. If you have slept on the Andy Darius era, I don't know what you're doing. This is a great album, Time of the Oath. And it kind of kept the band going and surviving. That era, without that era and without Andy, that band probably doesn't exist today. Let's go with kind of a controversial one, but one that is definitely celebrated and lauded. You either love it or you're just kind of not into it. And let's go with Ulver's Sveldanger. I don't know if I got my Norwegian pronunciation right there, but Sveldanger, absolutely love the artwork on this. But yeah, Ulver, they dropped really great black metal album before this, and this is part of their black metal trilogy of albums. Berktot is a great album, and then you get this one in between, and this one leans way into the folk element. I wouldn't even consider this black metal at all. Kind of neo folk, dark folk, blackened folk metal, whatever you want to call it. But this is an absolutely beautiful, stunning album. If you like any type of folk, I would recommend it to almost anybody. It's an easy listen. There's very little harsh vocals and stuff. The playing is excellent. Is it Berktot? No. Is it the follow-up? No, it's a totally different animal. And this band would go on to do just many, many different things, which you either adore them for or you hate them for. But yeah, it's an absolutely has to be celebrated. It's 30 years old this year. I still spin it quite a bit. I dig it. I dig the more mellow stuff sometimes. So this is right up my alley, and it kind of always was. And obviously this kind of hinted that this band was going to change, and they were going to change often, and they weren't just going to follow trends. They were going to do whatever the hell they wanted. And this album proves that, and it stands the test of time. It's a great, great release. And again, they're one of those bands where I doubt you're going to find anybody that's going to celebrate that entire discography, because they are such a different band than what they started out as. And they've got many different eras and genres that they have covered in their career. Let's go with some more essential melodic death metal from Sweden. Let's go with the band's 5th album, their full-length concept album, Edge of Sanity with Crimson. This is a recent reissue that came last year. Dan Swano did a remaster and a remix as well. So you get one CD with the remaster and one CD with the remix. What can be said about this that hasn't already been said? It's one of the best death metal concept albums ever released. It's technically a 40-minute single track, but there is breakups in that. So it's definitely like different tracks. There's clear starts and ends to other tracks. And they do a good job of changing time signatures, instrumentation, vocal stylings, and all that stuff to keep you interested throughout. Obviously, you get Dan Swano on here, the mastermind of the album, but you also get Michael Ackerfeld doing some vocals too. So that is very cool. Such talented guys on this album. The production on it is excellent. If you're into great mellow death guitar tones, this one is definitely for you. Also, a very cool concept that kind of gets into, we're not able to have children anymore. So it kind of deals with humanity dealing with that. And it's a very cool concept. Kind of Children of Men, if you remember that movie. Similar concept there. Very good album. I really like a lot of almost all the Edge of Sanity stuff, but this is probably my favorite and maybe even their best. I think a lot of people would say. So check it out if you haven't already. Central Swedish mellow death metal. Moving on, let's go with a band here, very seminal 90s band, metal adjacent. I think a lot of metalheads dig this band. They kind of get the pass when you talk about grunge and alternative rock. And this is definitely a more alternative leaning album. But let's go with Soundgarden's Down on the Upside, released on May 21st, 1996. It's their 5th studio album. And this was their last studio album for a very, very long time until they reunited in the later part of the 2000s. I like this album quite a bit. I think it's a little too long. I think there's a little too much on here. But the singles really stand out. Pretty Noose is a great song. Blow Up the Outside World. Burden in My Hand. All great, great seminal Soundgarden tunes you still hear on the radio to this day. And for good reason. They're great songs. You do get some cool deep cuts on here like Ty Cobb. Rhinosaur is a decent song. But yeah, I think it's just a little too long. If you dig Super Unknown and Bad Motorfinger, this might not be up your alley because this, like I said, is way more mellow, leaning way more into the alternative of alternative rock instead of grunge and metal and the more Sabbath style stuff that they did prior to this. But it is a solid album. I know it has their fans, sold a shit ton of copies, and I adore the singles. They're stuck in my head for life because I've just heard them so many times. But yeah, if you kind of fell off after Super Unknown or Bad Motorfinger, I would suggest give this a shot. Chances are you probably already heard the singles, but it's a solid album from a great band who really didn't release any stinkers of an album. Let's go with something completely different. Canadian technical death metal masters with their masterpiece, None So Vile, released July 3rd, 1996. So getting ready to have its anniversary. And yeah, this album, what can be said about this album that hasn't already been said? Technical death metal, supreme. I'm not a huge tech death fan. I absolutely love this record. It's only 32 minutes long, so it doesn't wear out its welcome. It's super technical, super brutal. It's absolutely essential listening if you want to get into that genre. I would say it's essential death metal listening, even outside of like tech death realms. It's a great album. It's expertly produced. It's expertly played. Great, brutal, harsh vocals. Yeah, Cryptopsy with None So Vile, turning 30 years old this year. Absolutely essential listening. And honestly, it kind of opened my ears and opened my mind to a lot of tech death and Cryptopsy in general. Like, that's the record. Probably 8 or 9 years ago, really dove in. And yeah, that record always stuck with me. It's essential for a reason. A great, great listen. Another essential album from a essential band for a lot of people. Ice Earth dropped the Dark Saga in 1996, July 23rd, so we're coming up on the anniversary for this one. This is a cool concept record about Spawn. So McFarlane did the artwork for this, and this is a release that came out a few years ago, I believe. That's in like this kind of 7-inch gatefold. It is the CD version, but you get some expanded artwork that's absolutely awesome. I don't really like this because I can't really put it anywhere, but the artwork is super, super cool on here. And record still stands up, still holds up to the test of time. Absolutely stellar album. I know a lot of people didn't appreciate this because after Burnt Offerings, they kind of changed the sound and went a little bit more melodic on here. But I think Matt Barlow, John Schaefer are such talented dudes. They can probably pull anything off. But you get the absolute banger of an opener, the Dark Saga title track. Then you get I Died For You, which is a great, great ballad. Absolutely love that song. One of the first Ice Earth tracks that I absolutely fell in love with. Violate, classic, classic song. And the end of the album is really stacked too. Slave to the Dark is a really cool song. A Question of Heaven. Absolutely love that one. So yeah, if you're into the more mellower, melodic style of Iced Earth, definitely check this one out. you probably already have if you already are, but if you're not, and if you're curious about the band, I would probably start here. Or Burnt Offerings is very good too. Again, another band that, I don't know, they might have had some stinkers, like the Glorious Burden. It's kind of overlong. Some of the Ripper stuff is hit or miss, but any of the Matt Barlow stuff is usually pretty good. Glorious Burden, it's okay. It's just a hard album. It's just super long. It's super long. If you're not into the concept, you're not going to dig the album. But Dark Saga, Burnt Offerings, you can't go wrong there. Absolutely seminal, legendary release from this band in 1996. Probably a lot of the songs that really got me into the band are on there. Let's talk about a band here that this is probably the only album that I really listened to from this band. I've tried other albums. I've tried the debut too, which people absolutely adore. And my thing is, my thing with this band is I love the seriousness of it, but honestly, I needed it with a little bit more tongue in cheek. And you'll kind of get it when I talk about the band, but the band is Moonspell. The release is Irreligious. I absolutely love this album. The debut Wolfheart that came out in 95 is a great album. I don't know why this one just sticks with me more. Maybe this is the first one with Ricardo, who plays guitar and would later become like basically the main songwriter of the band. This is his first album, so maybe that has a ton to do with it. I love Typo Negative, and this is kind of a similar band to them. It's gothic, doomy metal. But this is way more serious than Typo. Typo takes all those subject matters and really does it tongue-in-cheekly, and they have a sense of humor about stuff. And yeah, Peter can sound like a vampire at some times, but it's kind of done, like I said, in a tongue-in-cheek type of way, where Moonspell is almost deathly serious about that. But this album is really good. It's only 42 minutes long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Like I said, gothic, doomy metal, very, very 96. It's very of its time in the production and the writing, but not in a bad way. It's done well, and it's done earnestly, so it comes across well. So I would check out Moonspell, Irreligious. I know a lot of people love the debut as well, Wolfheart, but it's just one that I need to spend more. I actually need to own, because I've only ever streamed it. I think if I own it, I would spend more time with the debut. But yeah, Ravenclaws is a really cool song. Mephisto. The actual latter half, Ravenclaws, Mephisto, Hurl, Spiegelman, I might be pronouncing that wrong. Full Moon Madness, track 11. Really cool tracks on here, because they're kind of a backfilled album, but honestly, the whole album is pretty solid. And I want to check out more of their stuff. It's just one of those things where, like, I need a little bit of humor sometimes to break it up. Next up, we'll go with one of my absolute favorite live albums of all time. That is Alice in Chains, MTV Unplugged. If you know the story of this one, the band hadn't toured in a number of years or played live. They got contacted to do this. They decided to try to make a comeback and do this. Lane is frail, but his vocals are still amazing. He hadn't lost his voice, that's for sure, on this. And the whole band is in top form. And it's the tragic context of this just adds so much to the album and the lore of it. But honestly, Alice in Chains songs just lend themselves so well to this acoustic setting, like No Excuses. Obviously, that was on Jar of Flies, so that was a more of an acoustic album, or acoustic EP anyway. But some of my favorite versions of Alice in Chains songs are on here. Nutshell, No Excuses. I probably prefer these over the EP versions. Angry Chair comes off really well. Rooster comes off really well. Heaven Beside You, excellent in this setting. So an absolutely stellar live release. If you've never checked this out, if you are even a passive Alice in Chains fan, you have to listen to this. It's essential Alice in Chains listening. And yeah, some of my favorite versions of these songs are on this release. That's for sure. And, you know, the tragic part about that, too, is they really couldn't even capitalize after they did that. Unplugged. They never released another album with Lane. And, you know, he would die 5-6 years later. So they never got to capitalize on any of the buzz from that release and that airing of that show, which is absolutely tragic because it is a great live album, one of my favorite live albums of all time. Let's go back to Sweden with some awesome death, doom, gothic metal. Really seminal band that's still going today. They are very different today. And honestly, nothing they've done has topped their first couple releases for me. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. Catatonia with Brave Murder Day. What a great record. Released August 1st, 1996. And yeah, I mean, what can be said about this that hasn't already been said? It's death doom. It's 41 minutes long, so you do get some longer tracks. There's only 6 tracks on here, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. You got Michael Ackerfeld on vocals for basically everything except track 3, and it is an absolutely stellar, essential release if you're in any type of Swedish death metal, gothic metal, doom metal. This is great, and I'm not a big doom guy, but those Mixture and these guys, what they capture is truly, truly special. This and the debut are my favorites by the band. I do like some of their 2000 stuff, like Viva Emptiness and Last Fair Deal, Gone Down. I really dig that album too. But the last 5 or 6 Catatonia releases, honestly, have just not had the staying power as much as the classic stuff. And I think the vocals lend a lot to that. The heavier style of the playing, they're much more toned down and honestly alternative bass now, and much slower. This is slow, but it's heavy. It's got great riffing and great Michael Ackerfeld vocals that really lend a lot to it. So yeah, essential album that came out in 96. I just wish they would kind of lean into bands grow and change. I just wish they would kind of lean into some of that older style sometimes, and maybe not all the time, but just flirt with it. Just give us a bone every once in a while. Probably my favorite album that came out in 96 that year, Typo Negatives, October Rust. Dang, it's a big boy. Typo Negatives, October Rust. Again, what can be said about this album that hasn't already been said? It's an absolutely stellar release. Definitely their most poppy, accessible release, but a great album nonetheless. Obviously, you get the massive single Love You to Death on here, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend. You get this Neil Young cover, Cinnamon Girl. Typo has some of the best covers in the business ever done, for sure. And then you get Be My Druidess, which is a great song. Some of the deep cuts on here, like Wolf Moon and Haunted, are just absolutely stellar songs. And what a great album, man. To me, this band did no wrong. Every release is a stellar release. This is at their most accessible, their most poppiest. They really tried to capitalize on the success of Bloody Kisses by leaning into that more gothy, pop-oriented, kind of catchy song structures that really blew up with Bloody Kisses, like Black Number 1, and they tried to replicate that here on October Rust almost all the way through, and they do a really good job of it. I know some people kind of dislike the album because of that, but I think those guys are just such good, talented songwriters that they pull it off well no matter what they're doing. So yeah, this is an essential release, one of my favorite releases of 1996 for sure. Is it my favorite Typo release? I don't know. I don't think so. I would love to do that ranking, and it's not a huge discography, so it'd be an easier ranking in that terms. But I love all those albums in such different ways because all of them are very different from each other too. You know, Bloody Kisses is probably the most similar to October Rust, but then World Coming Down, they were just like, we're going to do something very, very dark, very doomy, very different from October Rust. Life is Killing Me kind of bridges the gap, and then Dead Again is a different animal in itself, and then the debut is a totally different animal because that has a lot of the carnivore influence still there. So, but yeah, October Rust, it's essential 1996 album. My favorite band of all time released an album in 1996. Probably my least liked album that they put out in the 90s. I mean, it's definitely the least liked album, but there is still stuff worth listening to on here. And this is the last album before they went on a pretty lengthy hiatus too, about 5 years for them, which is a long time. So Rush's Test for Echo came out in 96. I did quite a few of the songs on here, like the title track and Driven, that open up the album 1-2 punch. Both great tracks, and Driven features an awesome Geddy Lee bass line that is just stellar. And then you get Virtuality at the end of the album, track 8, which is a really cool, fun track. Kind of dated lyrics, but also kind of poignant for our time as well. Resist is one of the best ballads I think Rush ever wrote. So yeah, there is a lot of cool stuff on here. I think it's a little overly long. It's a little over 50 minutes, 53 minutes. I think some of it could be trimmed. And I think the beginning and the end kind of really hold up the album. I think the middle part kind of slumps a little bit. So when I did my Rush ranking, you can check out if you're interested. I think I put it more towards the bottom, if I remember right. But to me, they don't have a bad album. There's always something I can enjoy just because they're such great musicians and I love Neil's writing. So yeah, I think Test for Echo, Driven, Virtuality, and Resist. Limbo, too, the instrumental was pretty solid as well. So I think there's 5 to 6 really decent to great tracks of 11. So yeah, is it an absolutely essential Rush album? No, but did come out in 96, and I dig basically half the album. So I figured I'd talk about it. We'll see Rush later this year. That will be interesting with lots of mixed emotions going on, but I am excited to finally see them again after a number of years. And kind of righting some wrongs because I didn't go to the R40 tour, which I absolutely regret. That's a different story for a different video. Let's go with a guy who was doing a lot in the 90s with both of his bands, and that's King Diamond with The Graveyard. This one came out, September 1996, getting towards the back half of the year there. I really dig this album. Is it great 80s, early 90s King? No. Is it Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath, or Melissa? No. Is it really good Andy LaRocque playing and really good King vocals and a really cool story that's interesting concept? Yes, for sure. Production wise on it, I would say it does sound like a 90s album. That's for sure. So that kind of dates it to there. And to be honest with you, I think King was kind of working himself a little too much in the 90s because he was doing this and Merciful Fate albums, and they would alternate. And I feel like if he just chose one to focus on, you would have been able to choose the best songs and best concepts for each. But whatever. We got way more music than we probably should have. So props to him for that. This album, though, I feel is kind of slept on in the discography a little bit. You don't hear people talk about stuff. Yeah, I mean, you really don't hear people talk about the 90s stuff really anyway, unless you're talking about, The Eye? Didn't that come out in like 91 or something? Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, I really dig this album. Black Hill Sanitarium is a cool song. I dig the story. Digging Graves, like that one. Lucy Forever, the ending track, really cool one. It's over 60 minutes, so it is a little long in the tooth. But you get all the interludes and stuff that break it up with King kind of narrating the story and playing the characters. So it's well worth it. It's a creepy story. It's very cool. It's got this twist ending that you kind of don't see coming in its own kind of cruel twist of fate way that only King can pull off. But yeah, King Diamond released The Graveyard. We also got Into the Unknown, I think, for Merciful Fate. I don't own that one. I need to pick it up. I'm trying to get all the Merciful Fate stuff, and they did the reissue series, so all that stuff's pretty accessible. Next up, though, a seminal, essential Norwegian black metal release. That is Satiricon's Nemesis Divina. Yeah, I mean, essential black metal release April 22nd, 1996. You get what? Dawn of the New Age on here, Mother North. Basically, this whole thing is essential listening. The title track, great production on it, great vocals, great songwriting. Yeah, and it stands out for a lot of that kind of mid 96, 97, 98 black metal stuff that was coming out of Norway. The early stuff of the second wave obviously really pops off, like, 93, 94, 95, and then you get into 96, 97, 98, kind of starts getting derivative a little bit. This album really stands out, and to me, it's easily the best Satyricon album. Like, it's not even come close. I'm not a huge Satyricon fan, so I might not be the best person to talk about that, but to me, it's easily the best album in their discography, and they never topped it. It's essential listening, 42 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Great aggression, great production, great vocal work, absolutely essential. And this is the 2016 20th anniversary remaster. Sounds excellent. I love the cover too. It's not stereotypical black metal from that time, so it kind of stands out in that regard. Last one here. Let's go with some more black metal, but Swedish black metal this time. Their debut album from 1996, Far Away from the Sun by Sacramentum. If you dig Dissection, you'll dig this. A little bit more melodic in parts than Dissection. Great stellar production on this album. Great playing, awesome melodies, create really good narratives. Great vocals, obviously soaked in that reverb that you just know and love from this era of black metal. I would highly suggest you check this out if you haven't. If you dig Dissection, you will dig this album. Fog's Kiss, the opener, awesome track, essential listening there. Yeah, and the band did a few more releases after this. I don't think they've done anything since the late 90s, like 99. 2000 maybe. Could be wrong there. You can correct me in the comments, of course. Great album cover as well. It's essential 90s black metal. And honestly, this time frame, like I said, Norway was kind of getting derivative, and I feel like Sweden with Dissection and Dawn and this band were kind of picking up a lot of the slack, because they were adding a lot of melody into it, using the aggressive guitars to drive that melody too. It's definitely different. But anyways, guys, that's all I've got for 1996. Obviously, there was a ton of releases that year. So comment down below what were some of the ones that I missed or didn't talk about. Let me know your favorite releases of 1996. If you made it this far, I would appreciate it if you hit like and you subscribed if you want more videos. I got a ton more in the works. So anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. Peace.